Welcome to the Jones Zone, a podcast by Darryl and JJ Jones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Jones Zone. Today, we're going to explore the state of Texas. We've had so many Californians moving out of California to different states. I thought this would be a great thing to do, which would be talk to somebody who's lived in California and now lives in Texas. And specifically, a real estate agent would be best because obviously they know the ins and outs of our topic of real estate. So today we have Tyese. Tyese, we actually worked together in the same office here in Yorba Linda for quite some time. Tyese, when did you move to Texas?
Well, we bought our house in 2016, the house we live in, but didn't actually move here and give up our last place in California until January of 20, right before the lockdown.
Okay, so you've been there for over 3 years. And now, if I remember correctly, though, you had a place there and you went back and forth for some
that was
years.
His house, yeah.
Okay.
We started buying rental properties here in 2005. So that's kind of where we really got to love Texas. But yeah, it was 2016 after all those years thinking, my husband's going to retire. We did have two boys that looked like they were going to move to Texas, but we weren't sure. Yeah, so we actually have been going back and forth since 2016. Work in California, come back here for a couple weeks, go back to California.
Tell us, why did you choose Texas?
Well, it all started when I was in high school. My parents, from the
Which was only that's 8 years ago. So
it wasn't very that long. That's why I have fresh memory. It wasn't that long ago. But my parents, my dad was in the military. And between the time I was born and the time I was 17, I lived in 14 different houses, different areas, all over Southern California, though. Born and raised in Southern California. But in high school, my parents moved me for 2 years. We moved outside of Dallas and I loved it. They moved me back to California the middle of my junior year in high school, if you can believe that. So I went from a high school of 450. My total high school was 450 people in DeSoto, Texas. Moved to Mission Viejo, California, where my junior class was 750 people. So it was quite a shock. I've loved Texas, just the people and everything. So when it came time for Bill and I to talk about, do we want to stay here in California? Where are we going to retire? We started looking at, no state income tax in Texas. Housing affordability is great. We could pay cash for a house, no mortgage payments. Cost of living is quite a bit less now. Of course, it goes back to taxes. I think your gas right now for middle grade is about 580.
Six. Yeah, right around 6, actually.
We're at 349. So that was a nice thing. Less traffic. That was another thing. Our oldest son was living in Northern California. He wasn't going to move. And that was not a choice to move to Northern California. Not a fan to move there and live there. So we had two boys. One of them wanted to go to law school, and the only place he wanted to go to was UT Austin. And then the other one graduated college and was applying for fire academies. Anyway, so we just really started thinking about it. Every time we would come here while Dom was in law school, and we were like, man, this is great. We just love it here. What a great alternative, especially if both of our boys are going to be here. We thought, what a perfect place to retire. We were ready to get out of California, to be honest with you. The stress, the taxes. Can I say politics? Am I allowed to say that on this show?
Well, I try not to have any rules, and I'm a big believer of freedom of speech. So say whatever you want.
We'll just say right there, politics had something to do with it. Bill, my husband, retired, and it just happened. It was the thing. We came back a few times looking, well, where would we want to live if we moved to Texas? So I was going back and forth, checking out all the places.
Before you even started, you landed outside Austin, Texas, right?
Right. So we live in what's called Dripping Springs. Nobody knows. It's the wedding venue capital of the nation. So that kind of gives you an idea. It's beautiful here. It's what's called the Hill Country. And we're about 20 miles southwest of Austin. So we can be in downtown Austin in half an hour for all the nightlife and everything that Austin has to offer. Food, music, everything. Have you been there?
I've been to Austin once for, oddly enough, ironically, a real estate seminar. And I happen to have two of my best meals in my entire life were eaten in Austin. Salt Lick, that restaurant.
Yes.
And I forget what the other restaurant was, but I'm telling you, and Austin is what a fun city that is.
It's great. And the Salt Lick, the big Salt Lick. Did you go to the big one in in Driftwood?
I went to the airport.
Okay, yeah. Well, the big one is awesome. It's about 20 minutes from our house. It's in an area called Driftwood. So I knew what I wanted. I wanted to be near a big city, but outside of the city. Not that far off from living in Yorba Linda, but you want to be close to the beach or the whatever. The hill country has a lot of waterways and hills and rivers and lakes. I mean, I drive 5 minutes and I'm at the Pedernales River that has hiking trails and swimming, and where you go to Lake Travis, huge lake, and Lake Austin go through Austin itself. And that's 15 minutes from where we are. But we're enough out of the city that we don't have the congestion. We have no traffic. Dripping Springs is a little town where there's a downtown Mercer Street, with all the old buildings with restaurants and boutiques and all that kind of stuff. It's a great little mix of being close to a metropolitan area, but being rural too, in a way. We have an acre here, which is what we wanted. We didn't want too many acres because then we'd have to take care of them. We're about an hour from San Antonio, which is where my one son lives, and 3 hours from Houston, where I have another son. Our weather here in Dripping Springs.
Let's touch on weather. Weather's enormously important, especially to spoiled Californians. Tell us about the weather.
And you'll be glad to know, this is like, a lot of people have never been to Texas and they go, ew, you moved to Texas? I'll say, yeah, have you ever been? No. Well, don't say anything unless you've been, especially where we are, the hill country. We don't have there's no earthquakes here, but no hurricanes, no tornadoes, because we are surrounded by the rolling hills and the waterways. We don't have to worry about that. But here's I tell people, it's not, yes, Houston, humid, hot, muggy. It has a few beautiful days during the year, but not a lot. Dallas, very humid. Both of them have so much culture and great towns. Austin is a little hotter than where we live. Probably the difference between Yorba Linda, let's say Tustin, and then the beach areas. Most of the year, we don't have a lot of humidity here. For instance, today, Dripping Springs is having a high of 82. It's probably about 80 right now. Our low was 53, and our humidity is 34%. So 82 degrees, 34% humidity. Listen to what Yorba Linda is today. And this is what people don't believe, the weather. Yorba Linda is a high of 86. We're 82. 56% humidity. We're only 34%. So until people hear that, they think, oh, I thought that all of Texas is just hot and flat and humid if you're near the water. But we have some really beautiful weather. Yes, it does get really hot in the summer. All in all, a lot of it is the same. And because we have the hills, so I'm a little spoiled. I feel like I'm living kind of in a Yorba Linda-like area, only in Texas.
Yeah, that's a little secret there, because it's funny. I've had so many clients, especially, in fact, one of the reasons I wanted to do this was because of having so many clients just in the last 3 to 4 years, move away from California for various reasons. And Texas actually was the only client I've had out of at least 30 plus move out of California. It was the only one and they moved to Houston. And they're the only ones that have moved back to California. All my other clients, at least 30 to more than 30, have remained where they're at. But my point being is, Texas, in fact, that's good, because that's why I wanted to do this. So you kind of have a hidden little, I don't know if it's hidden, but you have a nice little jewel that you're there.
I thought it was hidden. I didn't know that it was. And my brother, who's a doctor, lives in Dana Point. And he said, Tyese, everybody knows about Dripping Springs in California. I was like, they do? And he said, oh, yeah, well, all of us have heard of it. And I said, are you sure? I didn't know that. Although, here's another little secret. When you come to Texas, the Texas pride here is so phenomenal. It's unbelievable. You don't want to tell people you're moving from California. You get dirty looks. Yeah. Nobody wants, that's just the way it is. So I learned that right on.
I've heard that from many, many people who moved not only to Texas, but to other states as well. So tell us what, and you may have touched a little bit on this. I'm just going to refer to my questions that I've already written that I think people will want to know. What are the biggest differences between California and Texas? Maybe a few things you can think of.
Depending on where you are, the weather. Like, for instance, if I had moved to Houston, I'd move back to California too. I'm sorry. Houston, my son is a lawyer there. So if you're a younger person and the nightlife, the proximity to everything, great. But me as, semi-retired, that's not the weather or anything I wanted to live in. So some areas are hotter and more humid. The open spaces, to me, I don't know if I was surprised or just blown away. We drive to San Antonio to our son's house, and we're just on a road. I mean, it's rural route 281 is what it's called. And it's like, 4 lanes, but you see longhorn cattle on the side. You see goats and donkeys, donkey farms. I mean, it's the best drive. It beats the 5 any day. That was a big difference where you're driving. You have to drive a little further. I mean, I think Texas is about twice the size of California, I think, somewhere around there. But we have half the population of California. I mean, it's big difference. So there's a lot of open space too. Maybe it's, 3/4 of population. Big state, smaller population. And then housing affordability, that's a big difference here. More housing here. The affordability, although where we are in Austin and some of the bigger markets, those prices have gone up. We paid $585 for our house in 2016. 3,400 square feet, total single story, brand new, on an acre. It's now worth about $1.3 or $1.4 million. Yeah. So that gives you an idea of the prices that have jumped in this area.
So now, in 7 years, it's around doubled.
Yes. Now, if you bought this house in Yorba Linda, then it's going to, assuming it's on an acre. I mean, you don't,
sure.
Don't always get that. It would probably be about 2-3 in California. So
sounds
2-4,
like
somewhere around there. Cause it's, it's a new house. It's big, single story, not a single step, beautiful view. We have a great view of the hills and the big sky. That's another big difference in Texas. The sky is like huge. I don't know why. Everybody says that too when they come. So biggest things, are no state income tax here. That's a big difference. Cost of living is a lot less. Gas prices. I would say those are the big difference. When we first moved here, we have a big grocery store called H-E-B. They're a mix between like a Vons and a Whole Foods. And they have like clothes, and some of them have decorator items for houses and everything. I mean, it's really cool. And when we first moved here, my husband had gone shopping. He came home. He was so excited because a thing of mustard was 89 cents. And he said, I pay $3.49 at Ralph's in California for the same mustard. So that's another, groceries are cheaper. So
your cost of living's dramatically better.
Yeah, there is one difference. Texas has such high property taxes. Well, yeah, we do, but they're not as high as Aliso Viejo. So, because you're paying Mello-Roos.
Mello-Roos in California, not in Texas.
Right.
Just to clarify. Okay.
Right. Yeah, we don't have it here. But if you're in California paying your, 1.25 basic property tax plus your Mello-Roos, I mean, I know Aliso Viejo, it can get up to like 2.8 or 2.9. Our property tax rate is 1.8 at our house, but we're in Travis County, which is Austin. Austin's in Travis County. So our taxes are a little lower than some of the other. That's another secret about Dripping Springs. It's Travis County, and we're part of, well, at least the part we're in. Dripping Springs is Hays County and Travis. Travis is closer to Austin, and property taxes are lower. So I would say the average property tax is about 2.2, 2.4. We're 1.8, but no state income tax. So it's kind of a trade-off if you're working.
Not to mention the fact that the house is half the price. So, I mean, you're still paying less in property taxes.
Exactly. Yeah, right. They have a couple of caveats. I don't think they have this in California. When you hit 65, the tax you pay for schools caps off there. You're not paying any increase after that because they figure, well, we're not using the schools, so we don't have to pay for them. So that's
I've heard of that. And
Yeah.
I think South Carolina might have that same thing too.
Southern states have it then? I don't know.
I'm not sure. But I was going to ask you too, because I just found this out, I think, about another state. I forget what state it was. There's no different property tax. You get a break when you turn 65. Is there a different property tax for owner occupied homes compared to non-owner occupied homes?
No. We own several rentals in Austin, and your percentage might be different depending on, one's in a certain part of Austin. That's where it changes a lot. Like in Orange County, basically everybody's 1.25, unless you have some extra, like Melrose or, anything extra like that. But here, your basis is not just everywhere you go, it's not 1.8, sometimes lower, sometimes a little higher, and all within the same county or even the same city.
What surprised you the most about Texas?
The weather, for one thing, here where we were, I was expecting it to be hot and humid, but looking back on when I was in high school and lived here, and my mom's family is from Texas, so every summer we came back here, and all I remember it being hot. This summer I've had to, in order to get some mosquito bites, I had to go to California. Haven't had any here, but I guess all the rain you've had.
That leads me to another question, actually, too, about bugs, because I know, like I said, I do a lot of different states, and I've done South Carolina, Tennessee, other states where sometimes there's an issue with insects. How are the insects here in Texas?
Well, they're big. They are big. The harmless ones are big too, which is weird. I mean, we have a lot of cicadas. Have you ever heard those? They're like in the oak and the pecan trees. A lot of oak trees around here, Texas oaks and all that. And they're these cicadas. They're kind of like a grasshopper, but they make this loud noise at night. And you walk outside, sometimes if you have a lot of trees, it's just like a booming band going on there. It's so loud. There's snakes here, but I saw more snakes at my house in Yorba Linda than I've seen here. And I don't know why. Maybe being in real estate, I was out and about more. I don't know.
Yeah, snakes everywhere.
Yeah.
Desert communities.
Oh, we have scorpions. We do have that. So we have a monthly pest control, just like we did in California. So here's something that probably nobody had ever heard of. I was out on our patio. We have like a raised patio in the back. Those are our only steps. Then they go down into the yard. I was out there and I saw this big thing on the wall, like up high on the cover. And I said, God, what is that? The ceiling is like 20 feet high. So got binoculars, a Texas redhead centipede. And it was about this big, like 8 inches long. Oh man, it was the creepiest looking thing ever. So we do have some weird things.
But not biting. You said you had to go to California to get a mosquito bite. It's not like you're getting bitten all the time.
No. And I was worried about that at first too. I thought, wow, when you move into a new house, am I going to have ants? Am I going to have termites? Am I going to have some strange bugs? We didn't have any of that. So I was pleasantly surprised about that.
Are there termites in Texas?
I don't know. People who have bought houses and stuff, I haven't heard about them. It's not as big of a deal here. Like you don't have to have a termite inspection, they don't even put it into the purchase contracts here. Oh, what a difference in the purchase contracts here. 3 pages and
opposed to the 20 pages we have.
Yeah, and contingency period. Oh no, if you want to back out at the end, you can do that.
Wow.
You're not supposed to, but it's supposed to be on good faith. People are very friendly here in Texas, I will tell you that. But that was a big difference too, was seeing how things are done in that respect.
Kind of a handshake.
Yeah.
Your word.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Utilities, similar situation?
Lower.
Lower in Texas.
Here's another example. We're on propane. So our highest utility is our propane gas. During the winter, when we've got the heater on, it can be $200 a month, which that's not much. When we were in Yorba Linda, if we used both air conditioners for August, the hottest month, our AC bill was like $900 a month back then, 2016, $800 a month. Here, we do run our air conditioning 24/7, and our electricity bill with that, and then, everything else, we have one electric water heater. Our electricity bill here is about $175 a month. Water is more expensive here, but the yards, you don't have to have a beautiful, completely landscaped, fancy, big to-do yard like you do in other places. because we do have different seasons. The yards all look nice, and some people do, but less maintenance on your yard. So you're not watering as much, you're not doing as much in that respect. So even though the water is the most expensive, I think my highest water bill is usually $180 a month, I think.
Oh.
So it could be comparable to California. We just don't water as much as we did there, though. And we don't have a pool here. We had a pool there.
Now, if I remember, Texas has a pretty diverse economy. I mean, is there a big industry where you're at, Austin area?
Austin's big high tech, medical. Houston's big medical. Austin has Dell. They're really big. They have Google, Apple. Well, now Tesla is here. So a lot of job opportunities. There's a NASA. Something to do with NASA is here in Austin that I wasn't even aware of. Someone was telling me about that. We have UT Austin, which is a phenomenal school. State Capitol is here in Austin. A lot of tech. But then there's a lot of restaurants that have a lot of workers at those. So we kind of crossed the whole gamut of,
You talked a little bit about medical, and I know oftentimes retirement and medical almost go hand in hand sometimes. How is the access to medical care there?
For us, it's great. I mean, there are a lot of rural parts of Texas where it's going to be harder. It would take us about 25 minutes to get to the hospital, the big fancy hospital where we want to be, if something really came up. Our doctors are like 5 minutes away, that kind of thing. That's very easy. But for large medical, I think if I had cancer, I'd go to Houston to MD Anderson. So it's kind of like being in Orange County, but then going to UCLA or USC Med Center or something like that. But as far as insurance goes, health insurance is cheaper here. When I was in California, you have to have your own insurance. We're self-employed. I had my own personal policy. It was a PPO. In Texas, this is really interesting. You can't get individual PPO. You have to do, and I don't even know how it works. You have to have an HMO if you're an individual. So when I moved here, I just kept my California policy, and that was fine, so that I could go anywhere I wanted. But then now I'm on Medicare. So that's great. I can go anywhere because I have the supplement or whatever it's called.
So you can actually is it considered a California insurance? You have PPO, but it works in Texas as well.
It did. And my husband and I both were wondering about that. I still work in California some. And at that time, I was going back and forth. So we're not sure how long I could have kept it. I kept it for, my address change took place in, I think, 2018. Mm-hmm. So 19, 20, 21, 22. And so I had it about 4 years before going on Medicare.
And did you actually use it? I mean, did you go to the doctor?
I never had an issue or anything. Oh, yeah, I broke a foot and all kinds of stuff. So, it wasn't a problem. But from what I understand, though, general health insurance is cheaper here, but a little quirky. And I'm not sure how that works. If, come here, I want a PPO. But if you're an individual, you can't have a PPO. So I'm sure there's ways around that. I'm just never had to do it, so I'm not sure.
And either way, you're fine. You're covered, so you're not worried about it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And how about schools? How are the schools there?
Where we are, they're great. Just like anywhere else in other parts of Texas, rural parts, who knows? Universities are great, very high ranked. The schools, this is something that surprised me. They are huge. The high schools, football is like crazy. It's like Friday night.
It's a religion
around here. Yeah. Yeah, it is really fun. Even and I understand it now. When I was in high school in Texas, my brother played football, and I was the cheerleader. We were there at all the games. Now, even if you don't have kids, you go to the games. It's a really big deal. The high school, it looks like Saddleback Community College. It's huge. The junior highs are huge. And now they're building another high school, Dripping Springs. They're now going to have 2 high schools that are sizes of, like a manufacturing plant. They're so big. They all have their own beautiful football stadium.
A stadium, not just a couple of stands.
Yeah, stadium. Have you ever seen the UT Stadium?
I have not.
It's humongous. And the walls, it looks like a fortress. It's so big. The schools are great. Of course, I loved high school when I was in, Texas. Moved to Mission Viejo, and it's like big, and everybody knew each other, and that was hard. And it's like everywhere else. You have
So
the football powerhouses and all that.
it's funny because I had played basketball in high school, and I remember our next door neighbor had some relatives come from New Mexico next to Texas, and we had a packed game. It was a JV game too. And their comment after the game was, guys, you didn't have too many people show up. I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm leading to what would a Friday night football game? Do you have any idea how many people attend a game?
They went to state finals last year, Dripping Springs High School. And this year, the first couple of games, they sold out to where there was not room for the students. So they had to put a stop on the outsiders buying tickets. They had to open them up to the students and the players' families first, and then to everybody else. It's a packed stadium. Boy, I don't know, 3,500. How many people would like Brea High School or the new Yorba Linda High School?
I was afraid you're going to ask that. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I would guess you got the Coliseum in LA is 100,000. So go from there, probably a couple thousand. So you're probably like 5 to 10,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's packed.
Can I look it up?
Sure.
7,104.
Wow. 7,000. Yeah. There's probably 1,000 at Yorba Linda High School. So there's 7 times as many, 7 times as many people.
And it's more than, they sold out. So that's Texas football for you.
What is your proximity to the airport? You mentioned previously that you do, of course, come back to California on occasion. What's the flight from where you're at to California? How long is the drive? How long does it take you from your house to get to the airport?
Takes us about 30 minutes to get to the airport, maybe 35 if we run into some traffic up that way. Austin Bergstrom International Airport is great. They have a salt lick there, like you said.
Yeah.
They have live music. I mean, it's a great airport. It's fun, but it's easy access. It's almost easier than Orange County, but not as easy as Long Beach. So it's a great airport to go to. And then flights are inexpensive sometimes. I mean, on a regular basis, you can get a round trip ticket for $150 or $200 to Long Beach. So on Southwest.
Gosh.
So if you look for the sales, they have them all the time. And if people are interested, man, snag one of those sales and just go look.
One of the reasons I said that, because after I came back home, I was telling my wife about me having this Salt Lick sandwich that was just, in fact, it was so good. My buddy that I was there with said, you got to eat at this restaurant. So we went there, I'm thinking airport, how could it be? I got the sandwich, and then I think it came with coleslaw, potato salad, whatever. The sandwich was so good. I said, I'm not going to eat this coleslaw. I'm going to go buy another sandwich instead. And I ate 2 sandwiches. They're so good. But I told my wife, and I said, boy, if these flights were less expensive, in the olden days, there used to be $49 flights, that type of thing. I thought we could just go to Austin for one night, just to eat.
You can do it. Just look for there's a sale going on right now. Yeah, $59 one way. What the heck? It would take you a tank. How much does it cost to drive out to Palm Springs now? Or whatever?
Well, you know what? On that note, what is the drive from where you're at to, let's say, Orange County?
The drive is 23 to 24 hours.
Okay.
No stopping. That's driving straight through. And then the flight is about, depending on the wind direction, all that, it's 2.5 to 3 hours. Typically about 2 hours and 20 minutes flight time. Not bad.
It's not bad at all. Are you selling real estate in Texas as well?
No.
Okay.
I'm here for if you need help and all that. I have a great agent that we've used on all of our rentals forever. He was a Seattle Seahawks football player, went to UT, born and raised in Texas. So we've used him. I still sell some in California though, just old clients and family. That's it.
I typically will ask people, because the folks that I've done with the other states so far, they've been real estate agents. So I was going to give you a chance to kind of plug your business. But obviously, if you're not selling real estate there, is it okay for people to contact you or no? They can contact me. Oh, how would one contact you? Text you?
Email, text, call. Mm-hmm.
What's your text number?
714-269-7357.
Awesome.
And my email is my name, Tyese Constantino at AOL. But yeah, I'd be glad to help you or anybody answer the questions I can answer.
Oh, you've been so helpful. Thank you so much for doing this too.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and it's good to see you.
Oh, no, it's good to see you. Well, if any of you out there, if both my parents who are the audience of this podcast, I'm just kidding. If they have any questions, contact Tyese. She's absolutely as wonderful as she sounds. and she would be happy to help you out with this. Really sounds like a paradise in Texas, frankly.
You have to come. And when you come, let me know.
I will. In fact, it's funny because you were telling me about, I'm looking into getting a rental property outside of California. And I remember you telling me a story, and we'll end it with this quick story. If you remember it, you were telling me about this developer was building houses around a lake, I think it was, or a river. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit more about that, and then we can end it.
There's actually been a couple since then. I actually have a friend who's born and raised Texas, and I'm not sure exactly which one.
I think they were doing Airbnbs. Airbnbs? Are there a lot of Airbnbs in there?
Yes, yeah. And that's what they have. They have a horse farm across the street from us, 26 acres. They have an Airbnb. And then they had, I think, 176 acres on Lake Travis that her family has had. They did sell 36 of those acres, and some of it is going to be houses on the lake, and some was just open natural area. But where we are, being the wedding capital, their Airbnb, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's on their farm. So you have horses and cows coming up to your door. It's really cool. But for a week, they charge $4,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, which I don't know what that would be like in California, but.
But do they do weekly Airbnbs or?
Okay. And they are booked year round. A lot of people, when they're building their houses here, they'll rent an Airbnb while their house is being built. And so that's, I think, where a lot of their business comes from. But there's people buying. Another friend of mine who owns a little boutique on Mercer Street downtown. They just bought, and this is easier to find here. Housing is much easier to find. It's 4 acres. The house was 3,500 square feet, had a pool, single story, beautiful view of the vista. This is more down right outside of Dripping Springs, but it's still Dripping Springs. They bought that house for $900,000. Orange County probably would have been 2 million, something like that, maybe more because of the acreage, hard to say. They fixed it up, and now they have it as an Airbnb, and it's booked all the time. I mean, all the time. I think this is a vacation destination. I didn't even know it.
Wow, that actually answers my next question. I was going to ask that. You said previously $4,500 a month. For example, Airbnbs, they rent it out to 5 different people throughout the month for 4 people for a week each. How much would a week rental for an Airbnb?
$4,500 a week. I'm sorry.
Oh, $4,500 a week.
The one on the across the street from me on the horse farm. Sorry, that's $4,500 a week. Now, if you're going to move into it for the month, or you're going to be there for a while, friends of ours used it who came from California, bought a house here. It wasn't ready. And they were paying for the month. I think she charged them $5,300. But if you're only renting it for a week, then it's a lot more. It's like close to the monthly rental.
Right.
And that's a unique property. I mean, you know, she lets you have access to the horses and the cows, and there's a stream running through the property, and it's amazing. Now, my friend Julie, who has the new Airbnb, I think it's like $350 a night, which is not bad. You could have your whole, 2 families will fit in there. I think it's 5 bedrooms, it's single story, 5 baths. It's a big house. At $350 a night, you can't get a nice 2 families in there. That's nothing.
Oh yeah, it's a win for the owner and win for the
and there's
person.
A lot of opportunity for bed and breakfasts around here. They don't have the rules either like California has. You can't use it for Airbnb, that
Gotta
may
have a
happen
permit
later.
for that. Yeah, permit for that, permit for this, everything
Right.
else.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Permits, even like in Houston, there's no zoning in a lot of places. Have you heard that?
I did not have.
No zoning. So in Houston, my favorite Italian Cultivari, this restaurant, was an old house. So you have the neighbors, the little people that live next door and across the street. And it's this amazing restaurant with the backyard is where they grow all their herbs and stuff, but no zoning, doesn't matter. And then door down from there could be a liquor store. So that's
so freedom.
Yeah, that's Houston. Yeah.
I hope all of our listeners got some great information regarding Texas. Gosh, you almost talked me into moving there. In fact, I might have to come and visit because, like I had mentioned before, we were considering an investment property outside of California, and I definitely wanted to make sure it was a place that wasn't humid. We don't like humidity.
Come here to the hill country. I'll take you to the real Salt Lick out in Drift. It's awesome. Cool. It's outdoor. They've got vineyard is there and music going on all the time. It's fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody has
Thanks
any
for
further
having me.
questions? Thank you for joining us. And then text Tyese. She's wonderful. And that'll conclude another episode of the Jones Zone. Please look at our library of episodes if you want to check out other states or other topics. I've got a lot of information, everything real estate. So thanks for listening, everybody, and take care. We'll see you next time around. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You're the best.
Okay. See you, Tyese.
Bye-bye.